Dr. Hala. Let's start with talking about some of the main government interventions that can be executed, first of all, to help to reduce the barriers to women's participation in the workforce and to eventually eliminate them altogether.
Well, good morning. I'd like to start by thanking the government of the United Arab Emirates for once again convening this wonderful summit. It's very nice to be here once again after 2 years of being separated physically. Well, let me start by saying that first, closing the gender gap should be core to any strategy. This is very important in order to, if you want to have a really sustainable, resilient strategy, so closing the gender gap is crucial. Answering your question, there are some main parameters for that, some prerequisites for that. First, you should have a political will. Political will is key. It's the main support, makes the societal support if you have a political will. The second thing is having the institutional framework. You should have a strategy. You should have legislations, decrees that support the existence of women in leadership positions, in boards, and having the right capacity building and skill set, because we do need women in leadership positions, but we need capable, qualified women. So you need also to create role models everywhere. Creating role models and setting by example is very important for the societal impact and for the cultural impact of having women and closing the barriers. And let me give you an example with what Egypt has done. Of course, we had a huge, unprecedented political support from the president himself, from His Excellency, the president. He gave a huge political support. He believed in women capabilities. So now we have 25% of the women in the cabinet are female. But I always say it's not the number. It's basically the portfolios that women are responsible of. I'm responsible for the economic development. I have my colleague here who's responsible for international cooperation, for culture. We have the environment. So it's basically, it's at the heart of the government policy making. The second thing is having a strategy. We have a Women Strategy 2030 that is at the heart of the Egypt's Vision 2030. So all the pillars of the Vision 2030, the women is cross-cutting on all pillars. The second thing is investing in women. We have a lot of programs that we are investing in women leadership, and also investing in two dimensions, investing in women in leadership position, because we need women who are decision makers, and at the same time investing in less privileged women. So we have a lot of programs for entrepreneurship, in order to make women able to have micro enterprises, to eradicate poverty and to have their skill set to make them really self-financed and self-independent. We also had a lot of decrees that increased women representation on boards, because women on boards are decision-making women. So now we have in the stock market and in the banking sector, at least 2 females are represented on the boards of these institutions. So now we increase to reach about 16% of women on the board seats of the financial and the banking sector, and we are about to reach 30% by the year 24-25. So these main pillars, in addition, of course, to having a lot of role models, I think is very important for the cultural and for the societal impact of women.
Absolutely, great achievement. So President al-Sisi facilitated 25% of females in the cabinet, just as the UAE has 50% of females in the cabinet, and the Speaker of the FNC is also a female. So,
and we increased to 27% of the parliament, from 2% in 2012 to 27% in the parliament in 2021. So it's a major.
Absolutely. 50% in the FNC in the UAE.
Yeah.
Your Excellency, Ms. Alawai, what actions and key tools do you feel need to really be deployed to overcome obstacles that women are facing in terms of participating in economic activity?
First of all, good morning, everyone, and allow me to thank Her Excellency bin Khalfan Al-Rumi for the kind invitation to be part of this panel with such impressive women. As Her Excellency said, I think there is, I would say, two levels, one in the public sector and the second one in the private sector, but the government is, I would say, responsible for implementing all a very comprehensive action plan to empower women in both worlds. In public sector, I think we have very similar journey. 26% of women in the council with very nice portfolio. I mean, very heavy portfolios. Maybe it's because of the crisis, but whatever. We take in what we are given. It's not a problem. Same in the parliament, almost 26% of women present in parliament. And I'm proud to say that in the council portfolio, women are in charge of economy and finance, energy transition, digital transition, tourism. So I think it's not a very important portfolio, and it's something I would. It's a good achievement, let's say. But moreover, in the local public life, it's important. The mayors of the three biggest cities are women. And this is another story, because you're dealing with the elected, I would say, authorities. You're facing really very crucial day-to-day topics and problems for the citizen. And having three women in charge of the three biggest cities in Morocco is something very important for our country. And the association of the region is also chaired by women. So I think having this type of position is a good way to show how women can have a different way to tackle the problems, to face the crisis, and to be fully aware of what is high priorities in the agendas and come with women's solution that matches also men's solutions in sometimes, but can be different, innovative, creative, and I think it's important. We have also a full set in the strategy for inclusion, women in financial inclusion, very important. I'm back to the private sector. I think there is two words we're thinking about: women in the cities, but let's not forget women in the rural world. So a full set of strategy for the, we don't have time to go into detail, but we also very sensitive for taking care of women in the rural world. Why? Because we need their girls to go to school and to go to universities and to be more included. So if we don't tackle the problems that these women are facing, we are not saving the girls for the future. And finally, on the private sector and the business, a lot is done for women, financing their project, pushing them to be entrepreneurs, but also pushing for women to be part of the decision in the board of the directors in the SOEs, but also in the private sector, because we need to have women in decision-making positions.
Your Excellency, Ms. Vido, now everyone knows that gender equality contributes to global GDP per capita. And I was looking at the numbers for Seychelles, very impressive. According to UN Women, 66% of women in Seychelles are working, compared to 71% of men, so it's relatively close. 47.8% of managers in the Seychelles are women. While there's still a significant pay gap, I mean, the Seychelles is doing much better year on year, according to UN Women. So to what do you really attribute this the success that you're seeing?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I think, as my colleague has mentioned earlier, it's definitely the political will and the presence of all the ministers, the lady ministers from the cabinet, Seychelles cabinet, their presence here this morning. We are 5 of us. This in itself is a demonstration of just how supportive the head of state is in regards to the empowerment of women in leadership positions in government. And basically, Seychelles comprises of a matriarchal society, and women are often at the head of most families, and we are from very young age. This is how we have been raised. So it all comes down to empowerment, and from a very young age, we have been given we've been taught that all opportunities are available to both girls and boys. So we grow up knowing that our opportunities are limitless. So we strive to do the best that we can with the opportunities that we are given. Of course, resources are always form a limitation. But Seychelles has been successful in establishing the right frameworks, in putting into place institutional arrangements, and I can say comfortably that we're looking towards a success, a very successful way, in the way that we are encouraging more women to take leadership roles in government. And of course, we're also focusing on the youth. My appointment to the Cabinet of Ministers, being the youngest member of Cabinet, is testimony to that. And if I were to tell you that, I would be lying if I were to say that I've not, the comment about how young you are to be a minister has not been passed. But that only strives to make me more determined in my duties as a minister, and I believe that the actions that we will take and the delivery in our positions as lady ministers will be testimony to what women can actually do. We're very powerful, and together we're able to achieve a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So I think what you're saying is that this really starts from home. It has to do with the way that girls are treated, and the way that women are treated at home, and how that develops over time. And Dr. Hala, I'd like to ask you, how can we really support women to reach senior leadership positions? This does have to start in their youth, doesn't it?
Absolutely. First, as I said, creating role models. When I was at the university, it was very important to encourage all young students. I was a professor and I was the dean of the faculty, so encouraging young girls to have a role model, to have a dream and work for that. And the most important lesson that I learned when I was young is you have always to excel. My father always taught me that whatever position you are at, you should aim to excel. This is a very important lesson because this always puts the path for you in your career, whatever small or big position you are at. The other thing is, of course, mentoring, capacity building, investing in women, because investing in women economic empowerment is key for sustainable and resilient economies and societies. Cultural issues in our part of the world are very important. So investing in women, investing in young people, mentoring girls from their early stages in schools, at universities is very important. We have developed a program in Egypt. It's first of its kind. It's called the Family Development Program. This program has two main pillars. One of them, of course, is limiting the birth control because we're a country that increases by about 2.5 million people every year. But the main reason is investing in characteristics of people. So one of its main key pillars is women economic empowerment. So education, capacity building, skill set, and of course, continuous mentoring and continuous supporting of women. Women supporting women is also very important. So I think this is one of the main reasons. The other important thing we have discovered is that one of the main impediments for women participation in the labor force is its digital divide. There is a great digital divide, so investing in technology, supporting women and guiding young girls to study STEM and to study, as the previous session was mentioning, in technology is one of the key ingredients for more development in women's careers.
Ms. Vido, on the subject of STEM, I mean, when we look at the numbers from Seychelles, I believe that 8% of STEM grads are female, while 38% are men. Although, you know, Seychelles is doing very well, it's making strides, what can it do to encourage girls to study STEM and, in effect, better place them so that they can attain senior leadership positions in future?
In fact, the Ministry of Education has been in close partnership with the government of UAE, rightly so, because we do have to address this problem when it comes to encouraging our girls to study and incorporate, to study science, mathematics, and subjects like these. So we do recognize that we have a problem, and the important thing is, as a government, when you realize you have a problem, you are able to reach out to those, to governments who have been able to make headway into tackling these problems, and this is what we have done in regards to Seychelles, and I'm happy to report that a delegation actually visited the Seychelles 2 weeks ago, and we have devised an action plan in regards how we're going to tackle this. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the government of UAE for extending support. So it's all about learning and growing by using corporations that we have with each other, learn from each other's experiences, and hopefully the UAE as well can learn in return through this program, can learn from Seychelles. As small as we are, we do hope that we will be able to contribute to a certain extent in regards to your development as well in terms of gender equality.
We certainly hope so. And as you know, the UAE is ranked highest in the region in terms of gender equality by the World Economic Forum. So you couldn't be in safer hands partnering with the UAE, I think, on this. And we would love to hear more about it, hopefully next year when you come back and see what has developed from the initiative. Your Excellency, Ms. Alawai, what can we do to really prepare young women so that they can enter senior leadership positions in Morocco?
First, I think we need to increase awareness, because I think we assume in this room that the diagnostic is completely shared, but I think it is not yet. And awareness has to be increased in school, universities, in the public and the private sector, and we still need to do effort on this. For girls, I think when I go and talk to them in universities and school, they are 50-50 in the school, so they don't understand my problem, because they don't know that some years after, for some reason, they will be just one room out of 10 men in the rooms. So I think, as Her Excellency said, we need to explain to girls that they can make it, they need to go to universities, that they need to be given the proper position. But 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said what I'm going to say now. We need quotas, we need laws, we need reform, we need to push for women, to finance women, to include them in the jobs and the decision positions, because we cannot be waiting for the moment for women to happen. A lot have been achieved, but I think going strongly in laws and reforms will help. And I'm proud to say that in Morocco, we have a gender-responsive budgeting process, which definitely push all the public policies to be, I would say, sensitive to this gender equality topic.
I feel like we could carry on this panel for the rest of the day, but unfortunately we do have to end it. Thank you so much, Your Excellencies, for joining us, and thank you to Your Excellencies and all of our esteemed audience members for joining us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.